Hey everyone, Ryan here at etrailer. Today on our 2022 Jeep Wrangler, we're going to be showing you how to install the Roadmaster stoplight switch kit. Before we get into that though, let's just take a minute, we'll check this out and hopefully help you figure out if this is something you're even going to need. So with the stoplight switch, the reason you might need it is twofold really. One of them being when you're setting up a flat tow or to be able to pull your Jeep behind your motorhome. It's probably the most popular reason, and that's the reason that we used ours here today. And another reason would be if you're trying to install a trailer brake controller in your Wrangler and it's not equipped with a factory tow package. So what the stoplight switch kit is going to do, for those of you that are setting up a flat tow, is provide your supplemental braking system's indicator light with the power it needs to illuminate. All right, and so what happens with those systems when that brake pedal gets pushed down, or pulled down rather, from the braking system, the stoplight switch will recognize that and send power to the indicator light, letting you know that, hey, the brake pedal on the Jeep is getting pulled down. It gives you a really accurate reading on what's actually happening whenever you're pulling your vehicle down the road. When it comes to the trailer brake controller side of things, a trailer brake controller needs your brake input to know that you're actually hitting the brakes in the Jeep, and it needs to apply the brakes on the trailer. So that's where the switch comes in. You push the brake down, switch recognizes that, and lets a trailer brake controller know that it needs to send power to the trailer. One of the really nice things about this particular kit is it's custom fit to the Wrangler. So the brackets are made special. It utilizes factory hardware, so you don't really have to modify or change anything in your Jeep to actually get this installed. So really, when it comes down to it, there's not a whole lot there. It has a pretty simple job to do. So the major takeaway, if you'll need this or not, if you're doing a trailer brake controller and your Jeep doesn't have the factory tow package, you'll need it. Or if you're doing a supplemental braking system that uses the indicator light, like the Stay and Play Duos, the InvisiBrake, I'm sure there's others out there. That's where this would come into play. So, as far as the installation goes, it's not really complicated per se. You're just going to be working up under the dash, so it's a little tight to get to and set up, but something you do one time, it's there. You don't have to mess with it anymore. So if this is something you're going to be doing yourself, feel free to hang around. We'll go ahead and get started on it now. To begin our installation for our stoplight switch, we're going to be working here in the front seat on the driver's side, kind of behind her dash, tucked up in here a little bit. And definitely recommend doing this at the same time that you're doing your supplemental braking system, if that's what you are going to be doing. For those of you doing a trailer brake controller, concepts get a hold pretty much the same, right? You'll just hook up trailer brake controller wires to it instead of our braking system wires. But with that said, the very first thing that I like to do is kind of get everything prepped here. The stoplight switch is going to come with two small bundles of wire, a green one and a red one, and we'll strip back both of those ends. And these are going to get hooked up to the stoplight switch. So these ends, I crimped on the included butt connectors, and they're just going to plug on to the green and red wires. And it don't matter, what one goes where, as long as we got them both hooked up. So once I get this one crimped on here, we can then take the switch and remove the star washer and one of the nuts. And if you look at our bracket, one side or one end of the bracket's going to have these notches in it. You want to use the side that does not have the notches in it. And what you're going to do, I usually take this nut, run up about halfway. You're going to put it through like this. Put the star washer on, and then the hex nut. And it'll be set up like that. Now, how this is going to be adjusted, it's just so much easier to show you this now as opposed to under the dash, just because of room. But the way this is going to work, all right, so say if my finger's a brake pedal arm, all right, you see this little plunger here? When this is just resting against the brake pedal arm and you're not pushing the brake pedal down or nothing, you're going to want that plunger to be pretty much completely pushed in, all right? And that way, whenever you push the brake pedal down, you know, it'll move out and that switch will, you know, this part will come out and that switch will close, completing the circuit, letting power through. When it's like this, the switch is open, not letting power through. And so that's how you would adjust it. You know, if you need to maneuver this, you know, further away from it or closer to it, you use these nuts to make that setting. This panel here on our dashboard, we're going to remove that just because it makes it so much easier to see, and it's pretty easy to do. It's just snapped into place here, so you can just work it free, pop that off, and we'll just set it to the side for now. Underneath the dash, we're going to locate a nut that we're going to utilize to mount up our bracket to. It's kind of buried up here, so bear with us, but it's to the left of the steering column, and I circled it in yellow. It's going to have a 13mm head. And so what you can do is remove that nut, all right, and then you'll take the bracket that our switch is connected to, put it over the stud, and tighten the nut back down. Got the bracket bolted up and the switch mounted and everything, and here's how it turned out. Really nothing to pay too much attention to other than, you know, make sure it's going to be all lined up and in line with your brake pedal arm there. The red wire from our stoplight switch, I used a butt connector to hook that up to a length of additional wire that I'm using, which will get ran through the firewall, into the engine compartment, and over to our battery. Here's where our pink wire comes up. I just got it routed all the way across our firewall here. It's going to come out here, and then I used a butt connector to hook it up to the included fuse holder. Make sure the fuse is not installed just yet. We'll do that once everything's hooked up. And then I just have it attached with the ring terminal to the positive battery post here. Back in our Jeep, the green wire coming from our stoplight switch, that's going to get connected to either you know, your indicator light on your braking system, your wireless coach link, whatever you got set up there, or you know, the potential trailer brake controller, however you're setting up your stoplight switch, right? So what I like to do is take the green wire, cut 2 pieces off of it, put it in one butt connector. That way I have 2 attachment points, and I just put spade terminals on them. That way, you know, if you're only using one right now, let's say for an indicator light or a coach link monitor, you'll have an additional one if you ever do decide later to put a brake controller in, or the coach link, or whatever the case may be. So I just like to have, you know, one that we're going to use for sure, and then a secondary one for any future upgrades or anything like that. But with that said, we'll go ahead, we'll get this stuff routed. That's going to get connected here and go from there. I got our system set up here, and the wire coming from our indicator system for our braking system is, you know, I used my spade terminal and plugged it into that green wire there. With everything wrapped up though, I went ahead, popped our panel back in place, and zip tied up all of our wiring. And with that done, that'll finish up our look at and our installation of the Roadmaster stoplight switch kit on our 2022 Jeep Wrangler.